Good evening. Selfish tradies have brought shame upon our proud city, storming the Westgate Bridge and attacking police in the heart of Melbourne. The unruly mob, fighting against the vaccine, which will give us the chance to reopen, brought streets to a standstill. Dozens were arrested as they led police on a dangerous game of cat and mouse, threatening this is only the beginning. Neri Tai was there.
A sea of protesters swarmed the Westgate Bridge, one of Melbourne's busiest freeways, brought to a standstill. Tradies jumping on the back of trucks, others clinging to moving cars. Thousands of motorists trapped in their vehicles.
They look dangerous. It was really quite frightening.
Bike riders in fluoro taunting police and harassing innocent motorists, at times encouraging them to join in.
Some parents had their kids there. The language that was being used was atrocious. Urinating on the side of the freeway.
The fired up mob taking over Melbourne.
How the police can control it, I don't really know. Yeah, all drinking, carrying, alcohol with them.
For the second day in a row, the rally started outside the CFMEU headquarters, blockading the intersection of Victoria Parade and Elizabeth Street, demanding an end to lockdowns and mandatory vaccinations.
Why should we put that poison into our bodies?
Met with a wall of police, including the riot squad, armed with rubber bullets and tear gas, they were warned.
Leave now or force may be used. No further warnings will be given.
The crowd swelled as they marched on State Parliament. Flares were thrown, crates and glass bottles. The CBD descending into chaos.
And you can just see a number of flares being lit there. And you'll just see a flare going off there.
Police cars damaged, others surrounded.
They're throwing shit at the coppers!
Riot police responding with rubber bullets.
Whoa!
Tradies furious with compulsory jabs.
Why aren't they mandating it for the politicians first? Why don't they take it? Why don't they all get it first before us? Why do we have to get it?
Besieged union boss John Seckett claims right-wing extremists and neo-Nazis hijacked the protests.
In all my years in the trade union movement, I never thought I'd see anything like that, so pretty disappointing.
But some CFMEU members were happy to show us their badge.
I think that's the biggest thing that we are fighting for here, and that's the choice.
After a morning of cat and mouse, the protesters ended up back here outside the CFMEU headquarters. They're now marching up Victoria Parade, but there are a couple of people here still agitating police. This is the third major protest to happen in Melbourne in just days.
With the industry shut down, other tradies doing the right thing say they are suffering.
My roommate here, he's had his first jab of vaccination. He's doing the right thing, but now he's out of work, the poor guy.
One man carrying a bunch of flowers for a mate who took his own life at a construction site this morning.
We've had someone commit suicide because of this latest lockdown.
A heartfelt gesture trying to heal the hurt in a city that's endured so much. Neri Tai, 9 News.
Police are surrounding the CFMEU headquarters as protesters march back into the city. Reid Butler's there now. Reid, where are they now?
Well, Pete, last we saw these protesters, they gathered at the intersection of Elizabeth and Victoria Street, just near Queen Victoria Market. But they were met by a huge row of riot squad officers just near the CFMEU headquarters here, and that appears to have spooked these protesters. They hung around for about 10 minutes before dispersing in various directions, and at this stage they don't appear to have regathered anywhere else in the city, but they have been live streaming their march and their activity. So it will be one to watch to see if they do pick up their protest later on throughout the evening. Now, this has been a seriously challenging day for Victoria Police. You can see behind me here the officers are just going into their buses here and changing shifts after a very long day. We saw 44 arrests and counting as well. Just a few moments ago, we saw a man being arrested here near the Queen Victoria Market. Here is Chief Commissioner Shane Patton.
The message is clear. You cannot come in and break the law. We will hold you to account and we will focus on community safety.
And we are expecting another protest tomorrow. They were chanting all throughout the day, we will do this every day. So Victoria Police are now preparing for that. The Chief Commissioner estimates as many as 2,000 protesters took part in today's rally. Pete?
Reid Butler reporting. Thank you, Reid. Despite 2 days of violence, Brett Sutton standing by his call to mandate the vaccine for construction workers. More than 300 infections are linked to the industry that's continued to fail thousands of COVID spot checks. State political reporter Mark Santomartino.
For all the anger about being forced to get vaccinated when construction was given a choice, not enough were coming forward.
There wasn't a terrific response. I think that goes down to the sense of urgency.
Brett Sutton scrapped construction's 90% vaccine target last week, enforcing no jab, no job in the name of speed, as half of the sites checked in a compliance blitz failed.
In the same way that you don't wear a hard hat on your elbow, you wear it on your head. Masks on chins were not doing the job in construction, and transmission was occurring.
I mean, you've got to take that into perspective. I mean, there's a house somewhere being renovated, they go down there and there's no QR code. I mean, that's a little bit out of our control.
337 infections are directly linked to Victorian construction workers, site visitors and their contacts. 154 builds have been affected statewide, with 239 cases linked to sites in Metro Melbourne, 9 of whom live in regional Victoria.
The government was left with no alternative but to shut the industry down.
The 2-week shutdown came into effect at midnight after this violent mob shattered the front of Union headquarters.
You know, there's 300,000 Victorians at the moment sitting at home with no money, thanks to these drunken morons.
This is a major blow to the Victorian economy and will put a lot of people on Commonwealth disaster payments.
There's a lot of families who will go without income for the next 2 weeks, and they're the ones who are going to lose out.
$750 payments to 300,000 workers will cost taxpayers $225 million per week, while the state economy is estimated to be losing more than $1 billion in the same time period.
It's probably right. It's in that order of magnitude.
The state government should never punish the many for the sins of the few.
I had a conversation with one of our members today. He was in tears. His whole workforce is fully vaccinated.
Peter runs a home improvement business in Cheltenham. Today, he was forced to sack his own son.
It's just killing me. I've never cried so much in my life.
His son is one of 2 employees that have decided not to get vaccinated.
And I respect that, and I respect people that don't want to get vaccinated. It's wrong, absolutely wrong. Give people a choice.
A message with merit lost in a mob that so readily turned on its own.
We're just not going to do that. We're not going to be intimidated by them. A whole lot of workers that got concerns about the vaccine, and they've been whipped up and told lies by anti-vaxxers and extremists.
2 weeks is going to be the minimum. For some companies and some sites, it could be till Christmas, could be a month, could be 6 weeks, we don't know.
Get the jab done and let's get back to work.
Live to Mark at State Parliament. The Premier's released a statement, Mark.
Pete, it's come out just in the last 10 minutes or so, condemning the acts of this riotous group over the past 2 days. In part, it reads, there is no excuse for the terrible behaviour we've seen in our city over the last 2 days. Acts of violence and disruption won't result in one less case of COVID. In fact, it only helps the virus to spread. We know vaccinations are our only ticket out of this pandemic. There is no other way. We have come too far to turn back now. It's those sort of warnings that this group has heard from not only the Premier but Victoria Police for days on end now, and clearly, Pete, that isn't working and there may need to be a change of tact.
Mark Santomartino. Tens of thousands of small-scale building and renovation work sites have been closed across the state. Workers and families are now frantically trying to secure backup plans with their dream projects thrown into disarray. Business reporter Chris Kohler.
Far from any protest, 300,000 tradies across the state forced to pack up their tools. Frustration mixing with exhaustion for builder Jason Charles. His team of 12 are all double dosed, but they're being sent home all the same.
They're all vaccinated, fully vaccinated. So we're trying to do the right thing, and now this is sort of a bit of a kick in the guts.
Along with major city construction zones, an estimated 30,000 small work sites will close for 2 weeks. Timelines will immediately blow out, leaving homeowners in limbo.
There will be many families that will be forced to find additional accommodation. They might be paying additional rent. They might be paying a mortgage at the same time.
New government rules state a limited exemption applies to respond to an emergency or to perform work that would protect health and safety, and an amnesty applies for a limited number of workers to physically shut down the sites.
It's however long it takes, but we wouldn't expect this to go much longer than 2 days.
What's deemed to be safe to leave in the weather for 2 weeks, entirely open to interpretation.
It's going to be very hard to police it. It's going to be very hard to work out how far we have to go to make our site safe.
In order for sites to reopen, not only do 2 weeks have to pass, but each site will have to prove that all of its workers have had at least 1 dose of the vaccine, and managers will have to apply strict COVID-safe rules. Hopes aren't high that tools will be picked up again soon.
If that extends out past that 2 weeks, I don't know what we're going to do.
Chris Kohler, 9 News.